welcome back to the Savage Daughter podcast. My name is Heather. Hi. Can you guys believe it's the 5th episode already? Can't believe it. It's already been a whole month of being launched. I feel like I'm finally getting my groove down. Yeah, I feel like the audio's gotten a lot better. I've learned so much this last month, and I am so excited to continue on now that I feel like I'm getting some progress with this. So I appreciate your guys' patience. But anyway, today I wanted to talk a little bit about the tools that I have used throughout my finding myself journey, so to speak. And yeah, I'm excited. So let's dive in. All right. Okay. So I know that we wanted to talk a little bit about tools, so to speak, that I've used over the years to really push myself to the next level. When I first started, it felt so overwhelming. I know I started off in 2016, and I started off with just one thing and I built on it. It's been almost 7 years, and sometimes when I notice that I slip up or my mental health kind of goes back a little bit, I have to just refocus one thing at a time. And for me, it's always gratitude. If I cannot do anything else, I always at least focus on 3 good things going on that particular day. I'm a firm believer that your perception is your reality. So if you can function out of a place of gratitude, your life is going to feel fuller and richer, brighter, and kind of basically just plain easier. My biggest thing that I can attest to is personal development and growth. I know from personal experience that reading self-help books and saying affirmations, doing my meditation and breath work, listening to podcasting, balancing chakras, all of it, this is a perfect place to dig deep into self-reflection. We're going to get a little bit into different areas as well, but that is going to be a lot of today's episode is focusing on that mental fitness, kind of that digging deep. The power of reading or listening to, self-help books, whether it be on audio or podcast form, it affects our brain growth in many different ways. So for instance, you learn to better control your emotions and negative self-thoughts and self-reflections. So you're kind of kinder to yourself if you are constantly reflecting on yourself. You can't always necessarily blame how you reacted in the past, knowing what you know now, because a lot of times actually, especially for any kind of trauma survivors, you function out of a place of survival. So, it's really easy to sometimes stay stuck in that victim mentality. So you don't always see the parts where you contributed to the circumstances that you perceive you're in. So again, if your perception is your reality, as cliche as that sound, we are in control of our circumstances, the outcome, so to speak. How we react in situation, it all comes from a mental space where we are on a mental level. I know personal development has helped me with, procrastination and staying motivated. I have found, the power in my own voice by, listening to podcasts such, as what I'm trying to create here. There's so many out there that have really helped me push to follow my dreams of, starting this podcast for one, and just different aspects of my life. It's been really terrifying for me. Like, what if nobody listens? What if no one finds the value in what I have to say? Like, what if? I have definitely used this practice of self-development to overcome a lot of doubt and fear in my own life. And look, here we are. Less than 1 month in, and we have over 100 downloads for this podcast. And it may not seem a lot to you guys, but it's so amazing to me. Like, I didn't expect 30 days in to have 100 downloads, and I did just launch my YouTube, so I'm hoping that will grow some followers as well that aren't necessarily reflected on like my Spotify and, on Buzzsprout with, how many downloads I have, but just seeing my message spread, that's just amazing to me. Like, over 100 people, you guys, like, that's wild. Anyway, it also helps you to be a little bit more open to learning, whether it's new skills or you're learning new facts. Having that growth mindset helps you find peace and contentment with the things that you cannot control or change. And it's a lot these days, right? Things are hard. Life is hard. And I know if you're like me, that feeling of not having any control and not being able to change much and feeling kind of stuck, it's hard. So I know I've been doing a lot of extra personal development lately, every chance I get, whether it be the car ride to work, home from work. I don't necessarily do it when I'm working out. I know some people do. I definitely need like heavy metal to work out. I can't really necessarily listen to podcasts on that. But if I'm just doing a walk or something, yeah, definitely. Any chance I get, I'm trying to dig deep into whatever's I kind of feel is holding me back. It's been amazing for me. So the book that kind of started it all off for me was Girl, Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. I probably read that 4 times back to back and came out with something new every single time. I was obsessed with it from the minute I read, like, how the introduction is. Like, I was bawling before we even got to chapter 1. Like, I felt so seen and so heard and so validated. And the way that she talks, because I did it on audio, the way that she read it back, like, it felt like she was talking to me personally. Like, this girl don't even know who I am, and yet she knows my biggest insecurities and how dumb I feel sometimes, and just real life stuff. Like, her success is, a lot of people know who she is. Like, she's a massive, she is queen. So, like, how can she connect with people like that? It was just amazing to me. The biggest message that I got from that particular book, though, is that no one is coming to save you. You are your own hero, and it's okay to be a mess. It's okay to be flawed and, in your 30s or even older and just starting to follow your dreams. It's okay that you're not who, or where you thought you should be at by a certain age. Life happens, and no matter how prepared you are, there is never enough preparation for what life is. It's a wild ride, and no matter how well we try to prepare our kids, there's no real preparation for what it's really like, because we all, again, your perception is your reality. We perceive things differently, so it affects everybody differently. But life is hard. And this book made me feel like I was safe to be vulnerable, to feel all my feelings, and to not just necessarily sitting in them for very long, but to validate them, because only I had the power to push through and make my life what I wanted it to be. I had to stop waiting for someone or something, or even life to be better or perfect, just easier. I had to take some kind of action. And so I started reading, and this book inspired me to do that, to take that action. And, listening to, podcasts or my AirPods at work on break, doing schedules, prep times, etc. Every chance I got, I was listening to audiobooks, whether it be Rachel Hollis or any other thing. And I was really focusing on whatever was going on in my life that I felt like I needed some kind of relief from. I did a lot in the beginning about finding yourself, your power, your voice, your strength. Everyone who knows all that I've been through always comment about how resilient I am, how strong I am, independent, that, I didn't really, feel that way about myself, so to speak. So I dug deep into why that is. Why can people view me in a way that I can't view myself? Am I presenting as somebody that I'm not? Like, am I being vulnerable enough to people that they see that I'm not this strong, independent person that is, a warrior, so to speak? And I just couldn't grasp my mind around that. And, while I am nowhere close to 100% mentally healthy, my mental strength is so much better this year versus when I started in 2016. So another part of personal development that I added next, after like reading and listening to podcasts and just digging deep into hearing other people talk about mental health, was affirmations. And affirmations change thought patterns and influence different behavioral changes for the better. I know it's been proven to be more beneficial for those who fight depression, anxiety, or even suffer self-esteem issues. A lot of people will be like, I can't say affirmations because it feels conceited, like it feels like it's stroking our ego. And affirmations aren't necessarily to stroke one's ego per se, although I will add a side note that stating that ego isn't as evil as it's perceived to be if you use it for good. But that's another topic for another day. Affirmations, though, can really reinforce our strengths and help us address challenges with, gusto and keeping our brains churning with positive, neurochemicals. There have been multiple different studies that have confirmed affirmations decrease health deteriorating stress. And it also increases the amount of exercise people do, on top of eating better by eating, a more raw diet, including more fruits and vegetables. It's also been proven that affirmations can help students better academically as well. I don't really know necessarily from personal experience that part of it, because when I was in school, I wasn't doing affirmations. I was unaware of what that was. But I do know that Saoirse and Aiden practice, and they're doing okay in school. But I have no expertise in that, as far as, just besides what the studies have said. I know I do love watching my kids learn and use affirmations. And I always say how much they heal so much of my inner child. And it's so true. The way that Saoirse particularly views herself, her confidence and her take charge attitude, how she demands the room that she's in when she has something to say. She's not meek. She's not quiet. Like her presence is always known and she's heard. And I love it. I'm here for it. I mark my words, that girl's going to grow up to be super powerful in whatever career she chooses. As of now, she states that she wants to use her voice for the planet and become an environmental activist. And I could see it. She's definitely going to make big moves with whatever she decides. Aiden too, but Saoirse's definitely got that more bullheaded, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. She's very much more a take charge person, and I absolutely love that, because that's everything that I wish I would have grown up being. Saoirse and Aiden have always both been a little bit behind in their motor senses. They're super advanced in other areas. Aiden is great with math and anything hands-on related. Saoirse is super advanced in reading and science. Like, she'll read like full chapter books way above her, her technical grade level. But their motor skills have always been a little lacking. I don't want to say lacking, but they've always been a little behind. With that said, they just learned to ride their bikes with training wheels. We've been trying for multiple years, and they just couldn't get the motion of pushing the pedals. They didn't have the patience to even want to learn it. So this year I decided to take the approach of affirmations. It couldn't hurt, right? So I'd say, who's strong? Saoirse would be like, me. I'd be like, okay, so who has the leg power to push those pedals? Me, she would say a little bit more confidently. And we kept just doing stuff like that. And then I'd be like, who can do hard things when they decide they want to? She'd be like, me. And she'd yell and she'd just take off. Like, it was so motivating for her, and she used it. And, anytime she'd get stuck in any little dips, I'd hear her telling herself, you can do this. I know it seems hard, but you can do hard things. You got the leg power. You are a leg power queen. I'd always follow up, be like, yes, little queen, slay. And I always praise her for doing it by saying, slay, queen, slay. You're the strongest. You got so much leg power. You go, girl. And after about an hour of this, Aiden goes, but I'm a leg power king, right, Mom? Yes, you are, my dude. Yes, you are. And then I repeated the same process with him. And within 20 minutes, they're both biking up and down the road. And they were so proud of themselves. Like, the looks on their face, like, oh my gosh, it just makes my heart so happy. By the way, if you hear the scratching noise, those are the cats trying to come in the room where I'm recording. So just, they're princesses. Don't mind them, okay? Anyway, I've been teaching my kids about boundaries and affirmations since I started them myself in 2016. I was really big on trying to lead by example. And when I say that my kids are able to communicate very effectively and strong, clear boundaries, I do mean strong boundaries. For instance, when Aiden was I don't even think he was 2 yet, maybe 2. I know he was just learning to really talk. He once told my best friend, Catherine, that she could walk away from him now. Like she was tickling him and she was playing and he was kind of smiling and he was being shy and he was playing with her. He was being nice. But when he was done, and he looked her right in her eyes and said, okay, you can walk away from me now. And she laughed and she's like, okay. And she walked away. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. Because like we had just became friends at that time. And I was like, oh, cool. My toddler just told her off and told her to basically go fuck herself. And she handled it very well. Like that was a conversation that we had personally about how I struggle with setting boundaries and such. So like having that respect to know that my kids, I'm just teaching them what they need to know. Like it felt good. And hearing Aiden say that, like he was polite about it. He wasn't disrespectful, but he was very clear. She was in his bubble and he had had enough and she could walk away. And I think one of the biggest, most positive shifts that I've seen in society since I even became a parent, like as an adult, is seeing the push on affirmations and boundary setting with our kids, having those conversations that we didn't necessarily get as kids, that it's okay to set those boundaries and that it's not rude and disrespectful to set a limit to what you can handle, emotionally, physically, mentally, like all of it. It makes my heart really happy and so full of hope for a better future that, with our kids growing up and understanding the power of their words and how we talk and think about ourselves and setting that boundary, that they also realize, what type of energy they want to fill their hearts and their brains and their soul. It brings a lot of hope for me. And I do feel like I fail so much as a mom, and I know that that's just my insecurity. I know that I have wonderful kids and I'm doing a great job as a mom. I know we all feel like, we fail our kids in some way, shape, or form. For me, I haven't always been so present. Like I've always I've always worked super, super hard. So to be more present has always been my biggest insecurity. And so I feel like I fail them as a mom a lot. But seeing how they are with their affirmations and their boundary settings and the way that they're able to communicate to people of, all ages and genders and just how full of love they are, it just makes me so happy. And to see them showing up authentically and taking up space and using their voice for good, it blows my mind that we're here and that they're as amazing as they are. As for the affirmations that I do and that I like to do with the kids as well, I do based on our chakras, 2 to 3 for each 7. You got to say it as many times as needed throughout the day, but I tend to say them, in the morning and in the evening before I go to bed. I feel like I sleep better if I end my day saying affirmations on 3 things I'm grateful for. That place of gratitude and that positive self-love at the very end of your day, going to sleep to the positive instead of, stressing out about the next day or stressing out about bills or stressing out. I feel like I sleep better. I wake up more energized. Like it feels so much better when I focus on that. I want to go a little bit over the type of affirmations I say based on the chakra to kind of give you a base. So yeah. Okay, so for the base chakra, the affirmation is I am. So for example, what I've been saying over the last, I switched them up a little bit, but recently my affirmations for these are going to be what I say. So for the base chakra, the affirmation is I am. So I am strong. I am resilient. I am not afraid to use my voice for good. For the sacral chakra, the affirmation is I feel. So for example, I feel empowered. I feel motivated. I feel grateful for all the good in my life. For the solar chakra, the affirmation is I can. I can do anything I put my mind to. I can live a happy, content-filled life. I can succeed in any area of my life that I choose. For the heart, it's I love. So I love myself. I love my resilience. I love my heart and the way that I'm able to love. For my throat chakra, the affirmation is I speak kindness, I speak truth. I speak out of a place of love. For the third eye, the affirmation is I see. I see myself through the lens of my loved ones. I see myself as I am, strong, brave, kind, loving. I see the good in those around me. For the crown, the affirmation is I know. I know I can trust myself, my intuition. I know that I'm worthy of love. I know that I am perfect and am safe to show up as my authentic self. Others may not like who I am, and that is okay. I know who I am, and I deserve to show the world who I am in my truest form. So there's so much power in the words that we say and think. When we treat ourselves with kindness and care, the universe moves to make your life reflect what you're putting out. The law of attraction, what you put out comes back, right? And after adding affirmations into, my personal development routine, I ended up adding meditation as well later on. Certain frequencies and guided meditations are wonderful for helping unblock, clogged chakras. Focusing on breath work, it can relieve a lot of anxiety, and it centers us in the moment and brings clarity. With breath work, that's where we find our power, whether it's, in a deeper, more spiritual journey through meditation or even with running. Breathing is where we draw our power from. YouTube has a ton of different meditations that I really like, and I will try to add some to my playlist on my YouTube page for you guys to come back to later if you choose to try some. I definitely recommend trying meditation. It's easier if you do the guided at first, and then, if you feel like you would be brave enough to try it without being guided, go for it. I haven't gotten to that part yet. It's really hard for me to still my brain long enough. But that is something that I'm currently working on. I know it's helped me a lot with like my anxiety and just breathing and centering and, grounding myself in the moment. So with the meditation though, I did add some journaling. Meditation has a wild way of pulling out so much in you. I found that journaling it out and sitting in it and just digging deeper and deeper into the why, I have found that the memories or traumas or, whatever comes up in that moment of silence is good if we put it on paper. Instead of just holding it in, like I feel like I can think out the thoughts and get to the root of it if I'm journaling it out. And that moment of reflection is where the healing is needed. So again, I like to journal just for getting it all out. My partners and my kids know that my journals are my safety. That is me getting whatever's in my brain out. They respect my need for a safe space. And, because sometimes thoughts aren't necessarily what you're truly feeling, you're just frustrated or you're just in the moment and you have these fleeting thoughts. I tend to write those down as well, because I know that my true feelings are backed up by my actions. And so my journals are off limits for that reason. So when I'm frustrated with my partners or with my kids, I'm able to have that place that I can be human and be vulnerable and be in that space, because I know that my feelings at the end of the day will come through and it will be reflected in my actions. So I definitely think journaling plays a huge part in finding yourself, to give yourself that safety and that space to be vulnerable. And just making that as a no-go. Nobody can have access to that. That's a part where it's only for you. And again, with journaling, I always like to start off with the 3 things that I'm grateful for, because, again, operating out of that place of gratitude opens space for the universe to do its work. It also creates a space where, we can release all that no longer serves us. The second tool that I have used in the past is exercise and nutrition, obviously. Once I gained a little bit of traction on my mental fitness, I started pushing myself. I was not into the gym setting. I thought it was super intimidating. I didn't like the atmosphere. So I worked out at home. I learned a lot about how, certain foods impact our mental health. I have always struggled with stress eating and binging. Growing up super poor, food was tight, and there was a lot of us kids there. We have a large family, and we didn't have the money or the resources. And me being myself, and I've always kind of had the caretaker energy. I'm a healer. I always take care of others before myself. I am getting better about taking care of myself as well. That's another topic for another day as well. But yeah, I've always had that caretaker energy. So I was always more concerned about the family eating than me. So I often went hungry if I felt like there wasn't enough food for everybody to eat, until they were full. I would eat as little as I possibly could to keep myself going. But I wanted to make sure that my brothers and my sister and my parents, they all had food. So I haven't always had that food is fuel mentality, and it's been a fight, my whole adult life. I'm still, 100% struggling with this, to be clear. And I'm nowhere near mastered it, but I have a lot more knowledge now, and I'm working toward it. Like, I know what my triggers are. I know where I struggle. And now it's just, my biggest struggle now is knowing that I can eat. And my body just wants to store everything because I've trained it for so long that we go hungry. And then when I do eat, it just holds on to all of that. So I'm trying to get more consistent about, telling myself it is okay and that food is nourishment, and to eat until you're full. It is okay. So, what we nourish our bodies with are a direct line to our mental health. And this is something that I'm going to talk about as this episode. I know it's probably getting a little bit longer than my others, but proper nourishment and moving our bodies to release, those feel-good hormones, that release becomes an addiction almost. You'll hear so many gym rats talk about how they do it for their mental health. And now that I'm working in the gym setting, I see this to be so true in a lot of people. The reels we see, the content all over social media regarding fitness, there are people struggling in their lives and have found comfort in the gym setting or, in fitness. And motivation, everyone's like, I don't know how you do it. I don't have the motivation. Motivation comes after the commitment is made. You won't be motivated at the beginning. It's about making that conscious decision that you are worth moving your body, for better mental health, physical health. You are worthy of feeling good about yourself and feeling strong. The number on the scales means shit. It's not a reflection of your overall health. How do you feel? And focusing on what feels good and what, makes you step into your power and show up as the badass that you are. That's where it's at, you guys. I'm loving how confident I am now. Like, I know that working in the gym, it definitely helps my confidence, but, and being surrounded by those people all the time, all day, every day, the people that I'm working for, and with, and the members that come in, and then working out directly after, I am constantly surrounded by people who are trying to better themselves or are, fighting their own demons and showing up for themselves. Like, it has been such a positive mental shift for me to not feel so alone in this journey, like seeing all these people. The gym has become such a safety net for me this past year. Since my most recent, breakup, I've definitely latched on to that community that I'm part of now, going to the gym and just being around all that. It's so nice, mentally, emotionally, physically, surrounding, yourself with those like-minded people, from all walks of life coming together with a common goal to feel good. It's so inspiring. Anyway, yeah, I love watching, people come in and looking miserable, having long days, or just really struggling, and then leaving looking like they could take on the world, next to my work, my coworkers. That's one of my favorite things about, this career choice. Lastly, let's talk a little bit about hobbies and fun. So I know who has time for that. Let me ask you though, the thing that was asked to me one time by my friend Kay was, who are you if you strip yourself of all the titles that you wear? If you say that you can't go out or you can't do X, Y, and Z because you're a mom, a wife, an employee, a daughter, a friend, a sister, an aunt, yada, 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 anything really, if you strip yourself of all that weight that you carry and titles, who are you? And what do you do if, time, money, and titles didn't dictate your every move? Like, what would you do? What would you do? And that was such a life-altering question for me. Because, realizing that limiting beliefs that you're too anything, whether it's you're too old, you're too poor, you're too busy, you don't have enough skill or will or whatever else is holding you back, it needs to go. Even if you're scared and your dreams feel wild and way out there and it scares the shit out of you, like dancing or a new sport, a new craft skill, a new career, anything really. Like if you're not finding that thing that sets your soul on fire, you need to, because, how can you truly find yourself if you're only focused on the mental and the physical growth, but not taking that time to be in the moment and, finding joy and peace and comfort in the now? We weren't made to just make money and die. I know so many people get caught up in the hustle and the bustle and they just simply forget to live. And I was there. That was me. I was the problem for so long. Last June, I had a small heart attack. It was terrifying for me as my mom did die super young from something similar. I'm quickly approaching that same age that she was. And it's always been one of my, biggest, darkest fears about, dying and leaving my kids at a super young age and leaving them to feel how I felt. And I remember laying on the walk-in floor at work, holding my chest and just thinking, okay, so this is what my life has come to. Like, what do I have to show for it? Sure, I make really good money, but at what cost? I'm literally laying here having what I think is a heart attack. And I never missed a birthday for my kids or anything like that. There's so much that I felt like I missed out on, whether it be their first word or their first steps, I was, whatever I didn't miss with one kid, I missed with the other. And as present as I could be, I felt like I missed out on so much. And it just felt like it all flooded me while I was laying there, on the floor, just like grasping my chest because it hurt so bad. And the cooler was cold, so it made me feel like I could breathe. I was so, I was less stressed financially, but I was so much more significantly stressed because I had no personal time. I was on constant edge. What if somebody called off? What if somebody quit? That constant feeling like I was letting my bosses down or my team down. Like I felt like I was never enough for anybody, not for my work, not for my home. Like I constantly felt at war. And, I was beating myself up and, that I had to do more. I had to work harder. I had to figure out a way. So I was only sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night to give myself time to work out, to, be a mom, be a wife, be a girlfriend, be a good, boss, be a good employee, like all of this stuff. And I was burning myself out. And I felt trapped and alone and I was hurting and I didn't know who I was. I was losing so much of myself in that and a very toxic relationship going on. And that was ending at the same time. And it was such a bad time in my life. And, I didn't even have time to, read the books that I liked to do when I was growing up. I didn't put, personal development and gratitude first. And I did start running as an escape. I would tell my team, like, if you need me, send me a message, but you're on your own for 30 minutes. And I stuck to that. And I just ran and I 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 ran all my frustration out. And I like to do it after work because, again, like when you're managing so much all the time, having that place to just get it all out, for me, it was running. And, that habit that I created during that time, it still brings me a lot of comfort on the days that, I just feel super overstimulated and overwhelmed, but I want something more than just running. I needed something outside of physical fitness and, reading and listening to podcasts and doing all this work. I needed actual fun, something to spark my creativity. Like there's so much in me that I could feel in there wanting to come out, but I just never gave it permission to. So, I started this podcast. I enrolled myself into an herbalist certification. I'm going to work on getting certified in Reiki healing, personal training. I also want to make my own salves, lotions, balms, teas, you name it, anything related to herbs. I loved photography growing up as well. And I wouldn't mind doing that on a more professional level someday. I'm really focused on bringing out that side of me now and giving that inner child, that person that, dreamt all these dreams. I'm letting her come out now and giving myself permission to feel that side and to do all that. And I'm having a blast in this phase right now. It is a little overwhelming because I think that I'm trying to do too much all at once. Because now that I gave myself permission, I'm just like, let's go, let's do it all. I can do it all. I can do it all. But I still have that mentality of, sleep less, work harder. And I'm trying to just focus on, a couple things at a time and what brings me the most happiness. And, the point of all this is you really just got to invest in yourself to find yourself. You got to feel worthy of the time and the energy that it's going to take, because it is a process. It's not like you're just going to wake up at one day, decide you want to be on this journey and just be like, voila, I'm there. It is hard work. It's going to take a lot of energy out of you and time. And there's going to be days that you wonder, why the hell am I doing this to myself? Why am I putting myself through this? But it's worth it. It's so worth it. I know once my stepmom once told me, I don't know why you're always working out. You're always taking time for you. Doesn't it make you feel guilty? I couldn't even imagine doing it. I got kids. I got too much on my plate. And that did fuck me up a little bit. Because yes, I did feel guilty at first. I felt selfish that I was, working out or whatever. But as cliche as it sounds, you can't pour from an empty cup. And it's true. And it's important that our kids and our families see that we take that time and show up for ourselves, because we believe that we are worth it for them too. They're getting a better us when we give ourselves a better us. They're getting the leftovers after you already drain yourself. So if you're not doing stuff to bring yourself peace and happiness, then what side of you is your family and your loved ones really getting? And again, I think it's so important that our kids and the family see us showing up for our own mental health as well, because it's going to set that foundation for them. Again, whoever we are, when we strip ourselves of the title, that person matters, and you need to find a way to cater to that person's needs as well. Anyways, that's it for today, my friends. Please feel free to like and subscribe to the show. Share to all your friends and family. We're trying to grow authentically without paying for any apps to promote our message, so every share helps. Music credit is Ian, found on Spotify with username Hi, I'm Ian, all together, no spaces. My Facebook is Heather McGarity. I have that Facebook community group of the Savage Daughters podcast. My Instagram is HMcGarity1 and TikTok is HMcGarity1 as well. I did just launch that YouTube page, like a Savage Daughter Co. And it's all going to be linked in the show notes. So if you want to go follow me, I would greatly appreciate it. Again, every share helps. And that's it for today. Peace out, homies.